Hello once again, my friends. It's time for more stories. This is a Neckbeard story from what I can see. Been a little bit since I've been able to read one of these, so I'm a little excited. This is from Reddit user Power of Sky. I know you. The Tales of Dourbeard. This disjointed prologue. For your amusement and or morbid curiosity, denizens of the internet, I present to you the tale of the neckbeard that I was unfortunate enough to share some genetic relation to. The man, the myth, the motherfucking 20-piece chicken McDick nuggets with a side of fuck-off sauce. My brother. The Dourbeard. Called so for the stench he left, but also the general sense of gloom his mere existence left on my home life, more so in recent years. Allow me to whet your appetites for disastrous, figurative train wrecks with a brief description of all the kind of filth this bastard, and I hesitate to admit I'm related to, is before diving into this wonderful, wonderful story. In terms of appearances, he was your pretty standard neckbeard. Fat tub of lard, scraggly blonde pubes for facial hair. Could have actually looked passable if he had bothered to give any kind of a fuck. Only ever wore sweat-stained sweatpants and polo tees, and shoes that he would always wear until they were nearly falling apart. Perhaps this was to give the illusion of being impoverished to garner more sympathy, or to give him an excuse as to why he always gave off the stench of roasted garlic infused with swamp ass paired with 15-year-old gym sock and jizz sock cocktail. I want to mention that you have a fantastic way with words. Don't know, don't fucking care. Mercifully, Dourbeard would always stay locked away in his disastrous landfill of a room, floor-coated in crusty clothes, mistreated books, rotted food, and Magic the Gathering cards, along with Pokemon cards he stole from me, the bastard. So the family's exposure to his greasy ass was often very minimal. But that didn't stop him from making things hard on each of us in some way. Personally, it seemed like he could be smart and charming if he didn't have such an aversion to effort or common decency. He always seemed to have this hatred for me, even when we were kids. As my mother described, I came into the world smiling ball of sunshine, ready to explore and experience this new world around me. Spoiler, I was crazed, curious hellion until they balanced me out with Adderall, and now, even though the turbulent twists and turns of life, I'm a shambling young adult with no direction in life. At least I've made a good live-in cook and nurse. Meanwhile, my brother was forcibly pushed out, screaming his ass off and generally making things harder for everyone involved. I've heard tales of him intentionally pulling off wires to hospital equipment as a youngin' just so he could laugh at the hospital staff when they ran in to see what the damage was. So, I can't say I blame him, seeing as how my mother once told me, yeah, after Dourbeard we basically said, fuck it, we're not letting our family line in with him, so let's roll the dice. Granted, he didn't make a very strong case for himself. I don't remember him doing much of anything during my youth. In fact, all I know is that he dropped out of high school, stayed in his room, and I went about life being a high school theater dweeb. One thing I do clearly remember with this jack-off is that he had no respect for other people's property. I've gone through at least 7 laptops in my time, only 2 of which lost through my own ineptitude. Only thing to survive are my original 3DS, which is now on death's door at this point, and my Xbox One controller, and even that poor bastard had a busted shoulder button since God knows what he did to it, and was left alone with a blob of inconsiderate douchebaggery. The one that always gutted me the most was the loss of my DS. As a child, I was always afraid to ask my parents for stuff since I was always under the impression that we were kind of low on funds. Apparently, I'd ask for a pricey transformer without thinking, but I'd never dare to ask for anything like an iPod or a game console. I didn't think much as a kid, so after having my GameCube for a while and then one day getting a very own Nintendo DS and a copy of Pokemon Pearl, you can only imagine the elated glee in my little middle school mind. I played through many a wonderful RPG on that little brick. That is, until a few months later, I come back from assisting with the church's food bank one fateful Wednesday, looking forward to unwinding with a nice session of Golden Sun: The Lost Age, after dealing with some middle school bullshit that I'll save for another story. To my utter shock, my brother, this oaf bag, this slacking without the benefits of good stats, waddles over with my DS, now hanging off one of its hinges. I have no idea what he did or why he did it, but he hands it to me and says, "Mama, Dada, you just tell him you dropped it." I was disgusted. I couldn't even respond. The real kicker, when I confronted him about it at a later date, he told me, "You're the one who broke it, don't pin this on me." Yeah, he convinced himself that I was still at fault. Bastard pulled similar shit when he scarfed down all the eggplant parm for supper once. Next time it was made, I wound up getting screamed at for not eating something I hated and then got double shit for that. These are minor things in the grand scheme of things. The real shit happens when I reached college age and my father left to work in Albuquerque. Turns out my dad's sterling will and no-nonsense attitude towards my brother was what kept this shuffling turd in check. But without him around, he was free to try and take charge and bring us down to his level of fetid bog of worthlessness and despair. Oh boy, this guy sounds special. Wow. Yeah, that does sound like a couple of neckbeards I knew. I recently did kind of talk about how Mew borrowed a controller from me and then, well, a joystick, and then just fucking broke it. It never said sorry, never paid for it, nothing like that. Neckbeards do tend to do that. They want to borrow your shit and then they just smash it, and then they act like it's your fault. Like, you know, you're the one who did something, and it's just... I mean, you didn't really have a choice, so... You know, he just kind of took it. But anybody else, if you have the choice, don't let them borrow anything. They never take care of shit. It always ends up fucked up in some way, and then returned to you as if you're the one who, you know, did it. But it's bad enough that I had to interact with these people who I thought were my friends, but to be related to one is... That's a hell of a story. This guy sounds like an absolute fucking shit pile. I honestly am excited to hear what the next installment of this will bring. So, wow, yeah. Holy shit, dude. Yeah, I guess that's it for this episode, but, I look forward to seeing what you write for us next time, so I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye! Thank you everybody for watching, and a special thanks to my Moonfriendio Babbsy-kun for, well, being that. If you would like to donate to my Patreon, and maybe even join this tier, you can do that by going to, well, Patreon. And if you have your own story you'd like to send in, you can send it to r/Moonhorse Stories. And I also have a merch store if you'd like to buy something there. The links to all that and more are in the description down below. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye!